Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. Weather is a changing a little bit, so I guess the winter is over, but we are going to get some wet weather here for a little bit. We are praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem, which is downloadable as a PDF file from a synagogue's website. We begin this evening, page 5, with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue, page 11. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria. Hello, we continue in English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands formed the earth's deep mountain. Crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted, like the people at Meribah, like that time at Massah, in the desert when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way, so in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Arba'im shanakut bedor va'omram toeh levavim v'hem lo yad rachai asher nishbati v'yapi im yevon el menuchati. Page 13, Psalm 96. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, shiru ladonai kol haaretz, shiru ladonai baruch shemo, basru meyom leyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim nifliotav, ki gadol Adonai, o mehulal miyod. No rahu al ko Elohim lai 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 kiko Elohe ha'amim elilim V'Adonai shamayim asa had v'hadar lefanav oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho havu l'Adonai mishpachot amim havu l'Adonai kavod v'oz havu l'Adonai kevod shemo seu mincha Uvahu lechadzero davlai la shtachavu ladonai behadchat kodesh chilu mipanav kol haaretz imru vagoyim Adonai malach avtikum tevel balatim od yadinamim b'meisharim yismechu hashamayim v'tagil haaretz ayiram hayamu Melo Yalo Sadai Vechol Asher Bo Lai 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 Aziranenu Kolat Seyar Lifnei Adonai Kiva Lishbot Aretz Ishbot Tevel Betzedek V'yamim Bemunato Yalai La Lai La 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 Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai lai lai. Page 15, Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, the many distant lands rejoice. Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine, righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about. Flashes of lightning illumine the land. The earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the Master of all the earth. The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory. Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Or zaru la tzadik v'l'Yisrael lev simcha, simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, avodu lezecher kadeshom. Page 17, Psalm 98. Mizmor shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, ki niflaot asa, Hoshia lo yemino uzaro akocho adia Adonai Yeshuato le'ena goyim gilad tzidkato zachar chasto ve'emunato levei Yisrael ra'u cholav se'aret et Yeshuat Eloheinu Horiu l'Adonai kol haaretz pitchom veranenu v'zameru zamru l'Adonai bechinar v'kol zimara bechatzot tzorot v'kol shofar Horiu lifnei HaMelech Adonai Yiramayam Maloho Tevel v'yoshveva Neharod Yimcha Uchaf Yachad Harim Yiranenu Lifnei Adonai Kivo Lishbot Haaretz Yishbot Tevel Betzedek V'yamim B'meisharim Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai 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 Yai la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. We continue, page 19. with Psalm 99. Adonai reigns, nations tremble. The one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake. Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, all-inspiring, Holy One. A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly. Exalt Adonai our God, bow down before God the Holy One. Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among those called upon the divine name, called to you, and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst the cloud. They kept your covenant and the law you gave them. You answered them, Adonai our God. You were a forgiving God to them, even as you punished them for their transgressions. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down at God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. Romemu Adonai Elohim v'ishtachavu lahar kadisho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. We rise, if you're able, page 21, Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid, havu ladonai b'nei elim, havu ladonai kavod vos, havu ladonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, El kavod hirim Adonai Almayim Rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et al ze halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel, Livanon v'siryon kemo vendrehemim, Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalo, Vayechasot yachod, Uvehechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lamabul yashavaye, Shev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz li'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. You may be seated. We continue page 23 with Lechadodi. Lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu elam yuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'liti lalecha, Dodi likrat, Kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mikor abiracha merosh mikedem nesucha, Sov maaseh b'mashvat chila lecha, Dodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzi mitocha hafecha ravlach shevet, B'yemek habacha v'hu yachamohu alayechem lalecha, Dodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Hitnari me'afar kumi, Livshei vigdei tifartecha mi, Ayad ben Yishai Beit alachmi karvel enav shigei Allah lecha dodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, hitoreri kiva ore kumi uri shir daberi kivod Adonai alayek nigla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lo tevoshi velo tikami, ma tishtochachi u'ma temibach. Yechasu ani eyamni v'nivnata ir al tila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. V'hayulam shisa Shahosayich mirachakul kol mivalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimchas chatan al kala lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela yamin usmo tifoti v'yet Adonai taritzi ayad bish Ben parti v'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzala tochem munei am segula Bo'i chala lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. Continue with Psalm 92, page 27. Joy, would you lead us responsively?
It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night.
Finger the lute, pluck the heart, let the sound of the lyre rise up.
You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork.
How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs.
The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever.
But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time.
Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered.
As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil.
As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear.
The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards.
In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock whom there is no fault.
Tzadik tamar yifrach ki erez balvanan yiske shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim verananim yeyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlatabo. Page 29, Psalm 93. Adonai is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you were enthroned, you are eternal.
The rivers rise up, their roar. The rivers raise up their waves. Above the roar of the vast sea and the majestic breakers of the ocean, Adonai stands supreme in the heavens.
In your house, holiness, beautiful in its holiness, your testimonies endure, Adonai, for all time. Sorry, I'm just trying to go for what we used to do. Didn't mean to surprise all of you. Shabbat Shalom, welcome. Thank you for joining me, for joining us for Kabbalat Shabbat. So nice to see so many people online, and we have, we almost have half a million we have a full crowd, there we go. Together we have almost 2 millions. Yeah, yeah. So we are in the part of the book of Exodus now that goes from pure narrative to a descriptive nature. The description of the Mishkan, or portable desert sanctuary, is described in ever so thorough detail. If you're an engineer, you love this. Sometimes it really puts you to sleep. But tonight I want to focus on one of the details of the furnishings of the Mishkan. The Mishkan was assembled in the desert when the Israelites stopped for a couple of days, or a month, or a year during their 40-year wandering, and then disassembled and carried by the Levites to their next destination, where it was then reassembled once again. And this was done, of course, for 40 years while wandering in the desert until a permanent place was established by King Solomon in Jerusalem. So this week's Torah portion talks about this portable sanctuary, while the Haftarah talks about the permanent one. In Exodus 25:36 it says, "You shall place the table outside the partition and the menorah opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle, and the table you shall place on the north side." What lesson for life is the Torah coming to teach us from the permanent placement of these furnishings? The table and the menorah represent two aspects of life. On the table, or shulchan, rested the showbread, which was a stack of 12 matzot. These matzot would remain from on Shabbat, Friday night, to the next, where it was removed, eaten by the priests, and then replaced with another stack of 12 matzahs. The table and matzahs represent the physical aspects of life, the food we need for survival. The menorah, or 7-branched candelabrum, was lit each evening and lasted till the morning, so that the priestly area was aglow with light 24 hours a day. The menorah represents the spiritual aspect of life. And of course, in the synagogue, the menorah is represented by the Ner Tamid above the ark. So the menorah represents the spiritual aspect of life. When life begins, the infant knows only his or her physical needs and its gratification. The juvenile mind cannot conceptualize or understand spirituality. We thus begin with our physical and material drives being dominant. When one reaches the age of reason, the spiritual aspects of life sets in and should achieve primacy. The physical needs should eventually become subordinate to the spiritual. Inasmuch as one cannot achieve spiritual goals unless one is physically healthy, one must provide the body with all its essential needs. However, this should not be as in childhood, when satisfying one's hunger or resting to overcome weariness was dominant. This is why the Torah goes out of its way to describe the placement of the table and the menorah. The beginning of life is indeed with the shulchan, or table, but at some later date, the menorah must be given primacy. After that, the table is still very much a part of life, but is now subordinate to the menorah. Maturity is not limited to intellectual progress, but requires that spirituality becomes the goal of life, while the physical requirements are only the means. This is also demonstrated in our holidays. On Shabbat, we begin with brachot, or blessings over lighting the candles, and then making brachot over wine and challah. The table that we eat our Shabbat dinner on, in effect, becomes a representation of the Mishkan, with the menorah represented by the Shabbat candles. Both are equally represented. On Shabbat, we become more spiritual and less material by limiting our labors in preparing food. Contrast this with Yom Kippur, which is called Shabbaton, or the Sabbath of Sabbaths. On this day, we also begin with candles, which represent the menorah, but the table is not represented with challahs, since we fast on Yom Kippur, but with books that we study and search for spirituality. So in Yom Kippur, we represent only our spiritual selves, which makes this holiday dominant in the Jewish calendar. There is more than meets the eye with Shabbat and our holy festivals. The rituals we perform are full of spirituality. The Torah portions that we read this part of the year may seem dull and irrelevant, but I believe that is only on the surface. Dig deeper, and much in the way of spirituality and relevance can be found. Our only lives do intersect this text. Shabbat Shalom. We continue our service with Ma'ariv. Ask everyone to please rise. Page 39a for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Voed. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai, our God and sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rose light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. U'mahavir yom u'mevi laila, mavdil ben yom u'vein laila, Adonai Tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu lam voed. Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim. Page 40. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha havta, Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachvenu v'kumenu nesiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam voed. Ki em chayenu v'orech yameinu uvahem ege yomam v'layla v'yavatcha tasim mimenu la'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה אם שמעו תשמעו מצותי אשר אנוכי אהבת בחלבך. וסופתי שמעוכם. ידכם ויצא. כי מהשמיים ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת להם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי עבדיהם לדורתם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בתיעול תכלת והיה לכם לציצית אוריתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תסגרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet, page 43a. This is our enduring affirmation binding on us that Adonai is our God and there is none other, and we, Israel, are God's people. God is our sovereign, redeeming us from earthly rulers, delivering us from the hand of all tyrants, bringing judgment upon our oppressors, and just retribution upon all our mortal enemies, performing wonders beyond understanding and marvels beyond all reckoning. God places us among the living, not allowing our steps to falter, and leads us past the false altars of our enemies, exalting us above all those who hate us. Adonai avenged us with miracles before Pharaoh offered signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. God brought Israel from its midst to lasting freedom, and led them through divided waters of the Sea of Reeds. As their pursuers and enemies drowned in the depths, God's children beheld the power of the divine. They praised and acknowledged God's name. Page 44. U'malchuto b'ratzon ki b'alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yameru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedor bakodesh norati lot o seifele malchutecha ruvenecha b'kiyam lifnei Moshe zeli anu v'yameru Adonai yimloch leolam voed v'nehemar ki v'da Adonai et Yaakov u'galot mi et chazak mimenu baruch Adonai God Yisrael, page 45. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'amideinu malkeinu lechayim Ufaros aleinu sukat shalomecha v'tagnenu b'yetza tova milfanecha v'hoshienu laman shemecha dogei badenu ushmotzetenu ve'en l'chaim u'shlami atavi ad olam uvos alenu sukat shalomecha Baruch Adonai, Haboretz ukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. We rise, page 46. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Ki sheshut yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. We continue with the silent Amidah for Friday night, pages 47 through 52. Page 53. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi malachto asher asa vayishbot bayom hashvi mikol malachto asher asa Vayivarech Elohim et Yom HaShavi'i Vayikadesh Oto Kivo Shavat Mikol Melachto Kivo Shavat Mikol Melachto Asher bara Elohim Asher bara Elohim la'asot. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu Eloi Avraham Eloi Yitzchak v'Eloi Yaakov Hoi Elogadol Gibor v'Hanora Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Haaretz Magen Avot Bidvaro Mechaye Meitim B'Mamaro Ho'el HaKadosh Ein Kamohu Ameniach Li'amho B'Yom Shabbat Kodsho Kivam Ratza Le'aniach Lahem Kivam Ratza Le'aniach Lahem Lefanav Navod B'Yirav Afachad V'nodeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid Me'ena Berachot El Laodot Adon Hashalom Mekadesh HaShabbat Mvarech Shvi Umeniach Bikdusha Leam Bikdush Neoneg Zecher Lemase Vereshit Eloheinu ve'Elokei Avotenu Ritzei v'menuchatenu Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha V'tein chelkeinu b'toratecha Sabeinu mituvecha V'samchenu b'shuatecha V'taheli b'livdecha b'emet V'yanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu B'yava uvratzon Shabbat Kodeshecha V'yanuchu vo Yisrael Mikadeshei Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. And we continue page 56, and we rise as the ark is open for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol Latet Gedula Liotzer Bereshit Shalo Asad Kagoye Aratzot Velo Samanu Kamishmachot Radama Shalo Sam Chelkinu Kahem V'gor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam V'anachnu Korim Umishtachavim Umodim Lefnei Melech Malchei Amlachim B'kadosh Baruch Hu Shehun notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz Moshe yikarev hashamayim nimah U'shchinatu zo b'gavei meromim Hu Eloheinu einod Emed malkeinu evezuleto Kakatu b'torato V'yadatayom v'ashivota elevavecha Ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimah V'yal mitachat Einod alkeinu Yagadu b'toratech Adonai bloch le'lam voed v'nehemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom mahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. This week we observe yard sites for Reuben Nissen Hannon, Samuel Lebo, Harry Merowitz, Marty Sternberg, Israel J. Tarika, Ralph Elizondo, Henry Heller, Philip Pincus, Samuel A. Rubin, Arthur Rubenstein, Rebecca Schwartz, Harry Snyder, Matilda Alhadeff, Nace Cohen, Abraham J. Kamhi, Abraham R. Franco, Charlie Strasburger, Edith Carletta, Seymour Kallick, Solomon Kermish, Sigmund Siegel, Rose Bardach, Morris Lehman Mayer, Michael Orange, Sidney Werfel, Gary Zaslowski, Cimento Franco, and Betty Siskin. With all the ArtSite announcements that we mail to all of you, we request that if you have a remembrance of a loved one that you would like us to read from the pulpit, we will do so. And this week's comes from Irene Kramer for her father, Ralph Abrigo Elizondo. Ralph Abrigo Elizondo was my father and my motivation to do the best I could in anything that I tried to accomplish. He encouraged me to work my hardest in school and was delighted when I told him I was applying to nursing school. He was so proud when I became the first in our immediate family to obtain a professional degree. However, we became very close as I grew older, and he became a caregiver for my mother years before she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Our joint focus was on making things comfortable for Mama. He never left her side until the day he died. Through everything, he maintained a wicked sense of humor. He has a very special place in my heart, and I can hear him reassuring me even now. Thank you so much for that, Irene. Those observing Yahrzeit and those who mourn, please rise, page 58, and join me for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, b'yoma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv yimaru amen, yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'meil maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha b'richu, Leilam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yoma v'yimaru amen, yehei shlama rabba min shemayim, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. You may be seated. Thank you all for again joining us for Kabbalat Shabbat. Thank you so much. Services will continue tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. There is no religious school on Sunday. And just want to mention a week from this coming Monday is Purim. And we will have, services will be at 6 p.m., that's a Monday night, and it will be followed by a spaghetti dinner prepared by Ken Shinbaum. It's $8 for adults, kids 6 and 12 are $5. Kids under 6 are free. So please call the office to make your reservations and get your costumes out. It's Purim. With that, we will go ahead and complete our service, page 211, with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra V'yachare kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni laham shelo leachbira beli reshit beli tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra, v'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra, v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor chevlim b'yetzara, Ve'unisi umanosli minat kosi biyom mekra minat kosi biyom mekra biyado afkid ruchi biyet ishan v'yaira v'im ruchi kaviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo ira Shabbat Shalom. And yes, I did forget to mention Havdalah tomorrow at 7 p.m., of course, via Zoom. Thank you, Charles. Huh? Good Shabbos.